Hi everyone, this is your Shafiq sir. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today also I want to explain the some important topic about the objectives of economic development. It is the second year topic which is very important topic. What is the objectives of economic development? Okay, listen here. How many objectives are there to achieve the economic development? What objectives are there? Objectives means main important aims to achieve the economic development purpose. First important objective of economic growth, that is the high rate of high rate of growth is nothing but the increasing the real output of the country is called the growth. So the high rate of growth, you know that. So actually in the developed countries there is a high growth rate is there. High growth rate is very high in the developed countries. So because they get the good income, national income also very high in the developed countries, because that real output of the country is very high is there. That is the main objective of the economic development. So for the achieving the economic development purpose, so high rate of growth is very important one. So if the growth means production increases, so the development also increases, and national income also increases. This is the first characteristic, first objective of the economic development. So actually listen here, which country growth rate which country growth rate annual growth rate increases from 10 to 20%, 20% per annum, 20% per annum, that is called as a high growth rate per annum. So what growth rate it should be increased in the country? 10 to 20% is compulsory. So that is called as a increasing the high rate of growth rate is nothing but production. And another important condition, that is the GDP, gross domestic product also increased up to 20% per annum. 20% GDP, gross domestic production, increases up to 20% per annum. That is also one indicator about the high rate of growth. This is the first objective of the economic development. First objective of the economic development. So increasing the real output of the country is called the high rate of growth. And the annual growth rate must be increased from 10 to 20%, 10 to 20%. And besides the GDP, gross domestic product, also increased up to the 20%. So that nation it is achieving the economic development. So this is the first objective of the economic development. Second one, economic self-reliance. So second important siding objective of the economic development, economic self-reliance. Economic means economically, self-reliance is nothing but, so the country should never depends on other countries for economic development purpose. That is called as a economic self-reliance. Means any country do not depends upon any other nations. Depends on other nations and other countries. That is called economic self-reliance. The country should never depends on other countries for economic development purpose. That is called as a economic self-reliance. So economic self-reliance means economic self-reliance means we stand we stand on one's own legs. We stand on one's own legs. That is called as economic self-reliance. Any country do not depends on other countries, other nations or other countries, like raw material, technology, manpower, resources, themselves they develop that. So like that raw material, technology, manpower and resources, so themselves we have to provide that, we have to develop that. That is called as economic self reliance. So economically we have to develop our nation. That is called as economic self reliance. The country should never depends on the country should never depends on other countries for economic development purpose. For economic development purpose, economic self reliance means we stand on one's own legs. That is called as a economic self-reliance. Like changing as a make in India. So this is also one slogan of the Indian government. So every commodity make in India, every goods should produce in our country only, but not the importing from other countries. Do not depends upon the other countries. Make in India main concept is to produce the all kind of goods in our country only. That is called as a make in India. So that is economic self-reliance means, so every commodity we have to produce in our country. And third objective of the economic development, so first objective of the economic development, high rate of growth. So second one is, that is the economic self-reliance. Economic self-reliance also one of the important one. And third one, so third objective is social justice. So social justice means in our society justice should be provided to the equally to the every people in the society. So justice for the everyone, not for the few persons. That is also one important objective of the economic development. Social justice also one of the important one. So social justice means so equitable distribution of wealth and income. Equitable distribution of wealth and income of the country among the people, equally. So among the people equally. Equally, that is called as a social justice. In our society, do not showing the any social differences, discrimination between the people. So equitable distribution is very important. Equitable distribution of wealth and income of the country, among the people equally, that is called as a social justice. But do not showing the any inequalities in the society, that is called as a social justice. So economic development purpose, social justice also very important one. So for the achieving the social justice, so there are the some important points I can explain that. Listen here. Every country, every government follow democratic principles, democratic principles in political structure of the economy. So political structure of the economy is nothing but, so politically we have to given the equal opportunities and equal chance to the everyone. So that is called as a democratic principles in political structure of the country. For the social justice purpose, so equal political participation to the people, that is important one. Okay, second important point, establishment of social and economic equity. So social, so in our society, so equally we have to develop that, like that poor people, higher rich people, do not showing any differentiation. So social equity we have to maintain that, establish that. In our society mainly there are the two group of the people are there, rich and poor, rich and poor, but do not showing that difference between rich and poor. So that is not called as a social justice. Social justice is nothing but establishment of social and economic equality. Economically also they are maintain the equality, and removal of regional disparities. Regional means some disparities means it is nothing but differences between the regions, like that four regions are there: east region, west region. So east region, west region, north region, south region. So here do not showing the any difference between the east region, west region, and north region and south region. Equally we have to develop that all regions, all particular regions, that is called as a social justice. So second point, establishment of social and economic equity and removal of regional disparities. So removal is nothing but removing regional disparity between the east and west region, north region, south region, that is called a social justice. And third point, putting the process of decentralization of economic power. So here centralized economic power, decentralized. So centralized economic power, centralized economic power means all powers enjoying by the single person, single person. means like that central government. If the all the economic powers means resources, manpower, wealth, income, if the controlling by the only central government, that is called as a centralized economic power. Decentralized economic power is nothing but the ownership among the resources and among the wealth and income, it should be distributing among the people. So among the people, among the people is called a decentralization of economic power. Do not control the only single person, but that economic power enjoying by the all the people of the country, that is called a social justice. And fourth point, efforts to rise the conditions of the backward classes. So backward classes, so efforts means try to develop that backward classes in the society. So BCs, SC, ST, and some minorities. So these peoples are economically backward. So according to that, income wise, resources wise, opportunities wise, these community people, backward caste, BCs, SC, ST, minorities, so they are very backward. So we have to uplift these people, factors to rise the conditions of backward classes. So that is also an important point to achieve the social justice. Okay, fourth important objective of economic development, modernization. So nowadays modernization is also one of the important objective of the economic development, because without the changing the our attitude, without the changing the our technology, so we can't changing the our development of the country. So modernization process also one of the important one. So before the independence, actually before the independence, Indian economy was very bad, very backward due to British due to British rule. You know that Britishers more than the 200 years they are ruling the our country. So crucially they are ruling the our country. So at that time Indian economy very bad, very backward is there, very backward, because they exploiting the total our resources, total our income and manpower. Due to that economically our nation is very backward. So that's why there is no economic development before the independence. Here after 1947, after the achieving the independence of the country, Indian Planning Commission or Indian planning makers try to modernize our economy, try to modernize our economy. So after the 19 first 5 year plan started in our country 1951. After 1951, Indian government started the first 5 year plan in our country. So our planning commission members, so the our planning makers mean members try to modernize the economy by changing structural and institutional setup setup of the country. So their planning commission members, they mainly they focusing on to changing the structural structural and institutional setup of the country, like what changes they want to changing by the planning commission members. First one important point, that is the standard of living of the people. Before the independence, the people of the Indian country, the lifestyle, the standards of the people is very poor is there. They taken the poor quality food, and the life expectancy also very low is there. There is no quality life in the Indian country. So that's why first structural changes they want to changing, that like that standard of living of the people. We have to improve in the standard of living of the people. And another important one, scientific technology. Before the independence, Indian country is very backward. We have to use that modern technology, and IT, information technology also developed gradually after the independence, and good machineries they are using that, and tools, and they are using the proper productive techniques. So scientific technology also changing in our country. And another one, industrialization, rapid industrialization also they are taken after the independence. Before the independence there is no industries in our country, and banking services also developing in our country. There is a good development of agriculture development also is there. So this is the main things to set up the country, like the standard of living of the people, scientific technology, industrialization, banking, and agriculture sector also developed in our country. Agriculture sector also developed in our country. This is also one important objective of the modernization. And fifth important objective of the economic development, economic stability. Stability means stable development is very important one, that is called as economic stability. Economic stability when it is possible, when a non-inflationary and full employment, if you providing to the employment to the all the people, and growth it occurs in a country, that is called as a economic stability. When it is possible that economic stability, when a non-inflationary means without the inflation in the country. So but some nations has the highly inflation problem. Inflation is nothing but increasing the price of the goods, increasing the price of the goods continuously, that is called as a inflation. So so generally if you control that inflation, we can achieving the economic stability and full employment. If you provide the proper employment opportunities, so we can achieving the economic stability. And growth means we have to increase the real output of the country. It occurs in a country, that is achieving the economic stability. It maintain economic stability, it maintain economic stability. So depends on controlling price levels in the country. So generally we know that poor countries, like that Zimbabwe, South African countries, South African countries. Here, these countries they are utterly failure to control that prices of the goods. So even bread bread prices also in the poor countries, Uganda, Zimbabwe. So in their countries, even bread packet price also, there are the more than 500 rupees is there, even one bread packet cost also. That's mean that countries are economically very backward. So we have to control that price levels in the country. That is important for the economic stability. And sixth one, inclusive growth. What is called the inclusive growth? So next, sixth heading is called the inclusive growth. Inclusive growth is nothing but, inclusive means total people's growth is very, people's participation is very very important in the economic development. So inclusive, exclusive means some limited people's participation is there, that is called the exclusive growth. Inclusive growth is nothing but, so the participation of the people, mass population, they participated in the development of the country. That is called as inclusive growth. There is no any differences between the people, everyone they has the proper opportunities. Sorry. Inclusive growth, it refers, the inclusive growth is, it refers to the both time and pattern of the economy, time and pattern of the economy. So what is the time is required to develop that nation, and what pattern, what segments are very very important to develop the economy, that is called as inclusive growth. Inclusive growth is nothing but total, inclusive growth is nothing but total people participation, total people participation is very very important. So here the benefits should reach the poor and marginal section of the people. If the benefits providing to the, so poor people reach the poor and marginal is nothing but additional. So whatever it is that benefits of the country, that should be providing to the poor people and marginal section of the people. Like that, agriculture sector, there are the marginal means additional population that depends on the agriculture sector. So that is called as a the marginal section of the people. So that benefit should be providing to the poor and marginal section of the people. It is one of the strategy, it is the one of the strategy of the economy. It is one of the strategy of the economy whose income is relatively low than the rich people. Rich people are called the inclusive group of the people. Okay, so whose income relatively low. So actually poor people's income is very low than the rich people. That people purpose we have to given that benefits to the all the poor peoples equally. That is called as a inclusive growth. And for example here, listen here, bottom 20%, bottom 20% of the people getting a share, getting a getting a share in national income only 2 to 3%. So what is the share of the bottom 20% of the people getting a share of national income? Only 2 to 3% only. But you increase it, so we have to increase that bottom 20% of the people share 5% to 10% at least. That is called as a, that is called as a inclusive growth. Okay, so thank you for watching my video. Please everyone subscribe my channel, share and like my channel. Thank you.